At any moment in time, what we choose to pay attention to, what we choose to consciously think about, what decisions we're trying to make, what actions we are taking decisions towards, for all of this, we need something called working memory. The main seat and center for our working memory is within our prefrontal cortex, which is also the center for our higher cognitive functions. For a healthy adult with healthy cognitive state, working memory is extremely important because it helps us going from merely just responding to our environment and our external environment to being part of our environment, to actually take control of our decisions, take control of what we pay attention to in our environment, and taking control of our external environment as opposed to just responding. It's all about taking control from the environment and onto our own internal environment. Once we intentionally let a thought come into our working memory within our prefrontal cortex, we go from a creature who is the subject to the external environment to a creature who's actually have control over what's going on around them, over what they pay attention to, and over the decisions that they are making in their environment at that particular moment in time. While the topic of this intentional thinking and intentional working memory has been extremely fascinating in the scientific world, the underlying mechanism of it has still been under the investigation and research for over a decade. And one of the most exciting, fascinating recent findings about this phenomena has to do with the role of our brain waves frequency within the working memory. It turns out the underlying mechanism of working memory actually has a lot to do with different brain waves frequencies that we emanate throughout the different layers of our prefrontal cortex, where these distinct brainwaves frequencies appear to synchronize the physical neurons within the prefrontal cortex. While we have known traditionally what these different brainwaves frequency are representing the state of a person, their underlying roles and responsibilities when it comes to our attention and working memory had been hidden to us up until now. As we covered in our previous videos, we have learned that the higher frequency gamma waves appear to be produced by the more superficial layers of the cortex, and they are the one who have to do with transforming information from our external sensory world into our internal system. We also covered that the lower frequency beta waves have the role to regulate and control the gamma waves once the gamma waves transfer the sensory information within it. So beta frequencies appear to be more of a gatekeeper and regulator and sort of controller as to what information comes in to the working memory. It also turns out that alpha waves, which are the lowest frequency among the two, is somehow also working hand in hand with beta waves. Traditionally, we've known alpha waves to be representative of a state where we are calm and relaxed because they are lower frequencies. But in this case, it appears that they also have an important role in terms of functioning our working memory when the information comes in from the gamma waves. So it also works hand in hand with beta waves. Moreover, alpha waves appear to be also produced more from the lower levels of the cortex, the brain cortex, exactly like beta waves, because beta waves, we also found out that they are produced more or less from the lower layers of the cortex, in this case, the prefrontal cortex. And so the alpha waves cooperate with beta waves to control the higher frequency gamma waves, where both alpha and beta waves, which are lower frequency, appear to have the control to turn off and on the information that is coming into the working memory from the gamma waves that are higher frequencies. All of this evidence makes scientists believe that it's actually the lower brainwaves frequencies that are controlling the higher brainwaves frequencies. And so the most important conceptual innovation of these recent studies is to show how the lower alpha and beta frequency appear to control the rest of and the underlying mechanism of the working memory, in this case, when the information comes in from the higher frequency sensory rate. Lastly, these findings showed that when top-down type of information was needed for intentional thoughts, the same intentional thoughts that were carried out by alpha and beta lower frequency waves. A top-down type of information is the information that we use when we need to make intentional thoughts, intentional decisions as to what to think, what to say, what to act when we are in an environment. And a bottom-up type of information is the information that we seamlessly get and receive from the environment. Here is where we really are not thinking, we're just absorbing the information from the outside coming in, carried on on the gamma higher frequency waves, and we actually are not really paying attention. We're not intentional about things. We're not making conscious decisions. It is as if we're just part of the environment and we're just soaking in information. Both top-down and bottom-up type of information is needed, obviously, for us to exist and survive in our environment. So nothing is good or bad about any of this. These are just the underlying mechanisms where it shows how potentially the working memory is working, where both the physical as well as the non-physical brain are cooperating hand in hand. The physical brain being the neurons that we can see and touch, and the non-physical brain being the brainwaves frequencies that we cannot really touch. Both of them are working hand in hand, and that is the most fascinating and exciting part of these most recent findings, because up until now, not many scientists were actually paying attention to brainwaves and how they work and how they collaborate. And that is also where a lot of my own research comes in, because it has primarily to do with neurofeedback, brainwaves frequency, and such.